Architetto Thorpe, come è considerato e affrontato oggi in Gran Bretagna il tema dell'accessibilità e dell'inclusione?
I think there's been a gradual progression since the 1970s. Part of it is legislation, and part of it is a gradual change in the culture of regarding disability. At the beginning, it was concerned with accessibility just for disabled people, which culminated in the Disability Discrimination Act, which is now being replaced by the Equality Act, which places duty on people who provide buildings, provide services, to make sure that disabled people are not disadvantaged, which may mean altering the services they provide. It may mean providing help like induction loops, tactile surfaces. It may be by altering buildings, getting rid of steps, providing shallow ramps, wider doors, automatic doors, lifts in place of stairs, and many similar interventions. I think the development since then, and the requirement to make buildings accessible is also now part of the building regulations. So in order to have your building plans passed, at planning stage and a building regulation stage, you must address the issue of accessibility. I think the change since then is the idea of inclusivity. You will see many buildings in the past where they've added ramps or special arrangements specifically for disabled people. The change in the culture now is to see that many people benefit from accessible spaces, pavements, streets, buildings, not just disabled people, but parents with pushchairs, people with sticks, people with luggage on wheels, people with trolleys, a whole range of people all benefit from an environment that is accessible for everyone.
Quindi possiamo dire che siamo passati dal semplice superamento di quelle che erano considerate le barriere architettoniche attraverso rampe o servizi igienici accessibili a un concetto più ampio della progettazione che possiamo definire la progettazione inclusiva, che in qualche modo dà beneficio a tutti gli utilizzatori, sia le persone con disabilità sia chi non ha problemi di questo tipo. Quindi c'è un'evoluzione anche culturale nel modo di pensare e di progettare. Quindi passiamo all'altra domanda. E tra circa un anno a Londra si svolgeranno i Giochi Olimpici e quindi volevo chiedere come osserva l'evoluzione sia della progettazione dei siti del villaggio olimpico, sia come sta evolvendo la progettazione all'interno della città di Londra.
I think there is a decision in principle that the Olympic Games should be a fine example of our current approach to accessible design, inclusive design. Not just the spaces between the buildings, but individual buildings. It's important to appreciate that not only the Olympic Games have to be accessible, but supremely the Paralympics which follow. So the buildings, not just for spectators, but for participants themselves, athletes, their facilities, where they stay, where they live, how they get between the buildings, how they enter the buildings, how they perform within the venues, all those are aspects of accessibility. And the intention is that this will be addressed in as excellent a way as possible. We have to see when it happens how successful this has been. The Olympic Village, the housing is interesting because it is designed initially for non-disabled athletes for the Olympics, and then the disabled athletes for the Paralympics. But afterwards it will become ordinary housing for people, and that will encapsulate the attitude towards housing, which is called lifetime housing, where a flat, an apartment is basically accessible, but it can be adapted to suit particular disabilities as they arise. So anyone can live in such an apartment, they can become disabled in such an apartment, and they can move into it already disabled. And the intention is there should be absolute freedom of where your apartment is, of what level, what size, and so on.
So, grazie architetto Torp, la ringrazio e ai prossimi progetti. Abbiamo tempo, possiamo chiedere un'altra cosa?
Sì.
Would you like to speak about what other, because he has the energy, has got the energy, all about the access officer or other
Yeah,
things,
okay, yes.
Allora.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Hold on. I'm not.
Un'ultima domanda, passeggiando.
Hold on. Ok. Vai. Più vicino da me.
Passeggiando prima per Londra abbiamo notato un buon livello di fruibilità anche degli spazi urbani, quindi con rampe di raccordo che si alternavano a scale, quindi percorsi più possibile per tutti e accessibili.